DTF transfers versus Cricut iron-on, which is going to be the best for you. Now, if you're making t-shirts, hats, pants, whatever, you've come across some Cricut videos, some DTF transfer videos, but I'm going to talk to you today about which is the best and the pros and cons of each. Let's get into it. If you're not familiar, Cricut is a cutting machine that you can do all types of things with, but today we're going to be focused on printing and cutting, which is for the Cricut iron-on feature. So this allows you to use your printer, print out an image, and then take that image and put it on, let's say, a bag like I did here, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, whatever. DTF transfers are direct to film transfers that you can get printed by a company. You can purchase your own printer. It's really up to you and what works best for you. But we are going to be comparing the two because they pretty much do the same thing, but there are tons of differences. First, let's start with Cricut. So I have my pros and cons list here. Guys, we had to find that. But my pros and cons list is here. So first of all, here are the two things that I pressed. I pressed a sweatshirt and I pressed a tote bag just to show you the limitations, how big you can go, colorful. I try to make colorful objects so you guys can truly see the difference. Let's talk about the Cricut pros and cons. We're going to start with Cricut. So first of all, we're going to start with the cons. I think the cons are bigger than the pros for this one, so I'm going to start there. First of all, with Cricut is the designs are very limited. They have a 11.5 by 8 maximum printing size for the printable iron-on, so that is as big as you can go. Now for certain products, that's not bad. If you want to make hats, if you want to make tote bags, like the tote bag I made was appropriate size. If you want to make little logos like a polo logo or something like that on a t-shirt, that may work for you. But if you're wanting to do sweatshirts, t-shirts, and which a lot of people do, the bigger the design, to me, the better. But again, it's up to you and your personal preference. Also with the Cricut cons, you need a lot to get started. With the Cricut printable iron-on, first you're gonna need a printer, you're gonna need to buy the materials, you're gonna need the Cricut, and you're gonna need a heat press. So those are 4 things that you need before you could even get started with making your t-shirts, your designs, wherever you wanna make. And that can run you a lot of money, especially if you're starting out. If you already have these things, it's easy to pivot, but if you don't, there's a big initial investment. Also with Cricut, another con is that there's a lot of time that is put into this. You have to find your image, you have to go into Cricut Design Space and upload it. You have to then cut it out in your Cricut machine. You then have to wait for that time period. Then you have to go ahead and press it. So it's almost a 4-step process to make one item. Versus DTF is a little bit quicker, but we'll talk about that when we talk about DTF transfers. Now, also a con for Cricut is the ease of use. There is a learning curve when you start working with Cricut, and that is something that could take you time and effort and money to learn if you're not a pro. Also, you may waste a lot of supplies with getting started with Cricut if you don't know exactly what you're doing when you first start out. If you're more seasoned, then you can kind of avoid this, but sometimes, even as a seasoned person, I make mistakes with my Cricut materials. And the last con, which I kind of talked about this already, but it's the investment that you need. There's tons of things that you have to invest in order to make your first iron-on with Cricut. So there's tons of things you have to invest into the ecosystem before you can get this started. So that is another con. Now let's get to the pros. The pros list for Cricut is a little bit shorter. And again, Cricut does tons of different things, but right now I'm just focused on if you want to make t-shirt designs, sweatshirt designs, pretty much put an image on another item is what we're focused on. So the Cricut pros is that, say you are in a t-shirt business and something happened on social media and you want to make that t-shirt right away, that is a pro of Cricut. The speed to be able to make a design, not talking about the actual process, but if you see something on the computer, you could print it out and have the design done in however long it takes you to do the process. So that is one of the pros. The second pro is there is room for error. Now, like I said, the error could be looked in a good way or a bad way. What I mean about room for error is, say you made a design and you don't like a small part of it, you can go in and tweak it and not be stuck with tons of printouts that you would with DTF transfer. So that is a pro for the Cricut. Also, you can practice, and then the third pro that I found out, or I thought about, is you can practice with different designs. So you can try a hat, you can try a book bag, you can try pants, you can try jackets, you can try all that at home without waiting tons of time for that. So the biggest pro I think with Cricut is the speed in which you can make stuff. Not the actual process, but the speed in which you can go from a thought in your mind onto a material. So that is the pros and cons for Cricut. Now let's talk about the pros and cons for the DTF transfers. DTF is direct to film. So what that means is you can take an image, send it off to a printer, and they'll print out the exact image on film, so then you can press it on to whatever material that you're looking to work with. Now, there are tons of pros, but there are also cons with DTF. Let's get into those. Because I started out with the biggest list with Cricut, I'm going to start with the biggest list for DTF, and that is the pros. So the pros, one of the pros for DTF is the size availability. So like I showed you here, the size difference between the printable on the tote bag versus the printable on the sweater. You can go up to, I believe, 14 by 17 or 14 by 12 on Transfer Ninjas, but there are other sizes that are available on tons of different other sites. But you can go really big with your prints, and you can go really small with the prints too, as small as a print being on a hat. So that is one of the pros. There's also low investment. You can invest yourself in a heat press, which my favorite heat press will be linked down below, but you can just get a heat press, order the direct to films from a website. Like I use Transfer Ninja, which I also link down below because they are awesome and they get their items to you really fastly. But you can go and just invest in the heat press. You can buy one used off Facebook Market, and you can literally get up and get going once you buy some blanks. So it's not a huge investment versus investing in a whole Cricut ecosystem. Another pro is this only one step. After you get your prints, literally you open your heat press, you put your image onto whatever sweatshirt, hat, whatever, and you press it, and that's it. And it only takes 15 seconds at 330 degrees. So it literally, if you have like a ton of t-shirts to pump out because you have a huge order, DTF is definitely a pro for that. Also for DTF, the last pro is that you don't have to have a ton of inventory. You can hold your blanks, you can hold your DTF transfers and your heat press, and that's it. With the Cricut, you need space for a printer, you need space for a Cricut, you need space for your heat press, you need space for the materials. So there's a lot more space that's needed for the Cricut versus the DTF. Now, they're not all pros, there are some cons too, so let's get into those. So one of my first negatives or cons for DTF is that you do have to come up with your own designs. Cricut has Cricut Design Space that you can go through and find designs that you really enjoy and just go ahead and print those out. They're already formatted and get them right over to the Cricut. Where at DTF, you do either have to create your own designs, you have to source your own designs from places like Etsy, or pay a graphic designer or somewhere like Fiverr to have the designs made for you. And all those options on how you want to do those things. If you want a Fiverr freelancer to like create a t-shirt design, you can do that. And I'll also link my video up here on how you can make a t-shirt design for free if that's what you're interested in. But that is one of the cons of DTF transfers. Also the number one con for me are the shipping times. Now, when I purchased my transfers from Transfer Ninja, the shipping times are between 2 and 5 days. So if you have a huge order to do and you need it ASAP, you really can't. You can spend more for expedited shipping, but again, there's so many variations with shipping. They could lose your package. There's tons of different things that are variables when waiting for something to ship, especially if it involves you like selling this product to someone else. The last con for DTF transfers, and I'm gonna have to say this, is the finish. The finish on DTF transfers is shiny, it's plasticky. It doesn't look horrible, but it's not the greatest either. I think if DTF transfers had more of like a cotton finish, I'm pretty sure in the future they'll start to revolutionize the type of material they actually print on when they do the printing. But for right now, it's super shiny, elastic. It washes very well, but it's kinda, yeah. So those are my pros and cons for the Cricut and the DTF transfers. If I had to pick a winner, if I had a clothing brand, I needed to pump out orders and I was okay with the shiny finish, I would go with DTF transfers. Now, if you are not just a clothing brand, if you are making other items, if you need your Cricut for packaging, if you need it for, there's tons of different things you can do with your Cricut. Look on my page, there, my YouTube channel, there's tons of different things that you can do. But if you have more than one use for your Cricut, then that's not a bad option either. Also too, again, the biggest thing we talked about was sizing. If you're a hat brand, Cricut may be the way for you to go, because you can make tons of different things with the Cricut for your hat brand. If you're a clothing brand and you want big designs, DTF is definitely going to be the way to go. Let me know down below what you think, and if you'll be doing DTF printing or using a Cricut to make your t-shirt clothing designs. My name is Akira. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.